You are listening to the Vibrant Life Podcast, episode 42.
The Vibrant Life.
Hey you, I'm Emily Romrell, and this is the Vibrant Life Podcast, and this is episode 42. We're cruising, peeps. And in case you were wondering, no, this episode does not contain the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. I am not Douglas Adams, who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a great book, though, and it's really fun, so you should check that out if you haven't yet. But in that book, if you don't get it, the answer is 42, which is why I made that little joke. Anyway, I think that even though I don't have all the answers, we can definitely cover a couple key concepts that will make your life a lot more vibrant today. And today we're also going to be talking about cookies, which makes everything better. But before we get into the deliciousness of the topic today, here's a little bonus nugget for you of wisdom. If you're struggling with something difficult, this might help. I know it does me. Make an honest commitment with yourself to do something productive at least once a week, even if you don't feel like it. And for me, it's this podcast. So I want to thank you, my friends, for hanging out and spending the time with me, because I find it just beneficial in my own life to have something positive to think about each week. Also, I didn't expect to talk about this today, but it's on my mind and I want to be as authentic as possible. And I'm feeling the push to share, so here you go. But last night was painful for me. I mean, physically painful. Emotionally a little bit, but mostly physically. I maybe got 3 hours of sleep, and I was tossing and turning forever, just trying to find a position where I didn't hurt. And I was recently diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I don't know if I've said that on here or not yet, but it's a challenge for me figuring out how to manage things with this. And last night I got frustrated, and when I'm emotional, I tend to have this running conversation with Heavenly Father in my head. I believe there are lots of different kinds of prayer, and I do pray formally on my knees and everything, but a lot of times I'm just sending conversational thoughts out to Heavenly Father as they come. And sometimes it's thank you. A lot of times it's thank you, honestly. But last night it was more complaining. I was kind of going like something like this. Like, why do I always have to hurt so bad, especially after I do something positive? Side note, I did have a fun time earlier in the day hanging out with some friends, but I feel like I'm always paying a price whenever I go out and do things because it just costs energy and then I'm hurting and in pain afterwards. So my thoughts / prayers continued in that vein for a while. And again, side note, sometimes I feel like when I have these kind of conversational prayers, I get answers fairly quickly. A response thought will come into my mind and communication moves forward, but sometimes not. And last time was a sometimes not. Anyway, so it was a tough night. And this morning I was struggling. I was trying to get up energy to do this podcast, actually. And I didn't feel like doing anything. I had a very slow start to the day. And I try hard to have a good effort and a good energy when I do these podcasts for you guys. And another secret I have learned is that once you actually start something and take action, things get a little bit better. And they did as I've started this little shindig with all of you. So I got all my stuff out for the podcast and I was thinking about what I want to share with you. And then I started thinking about my message last week, which was called The Wonder of Eve. It was all about if you have a dark night, it's a precursor to something wonderful. Like it's good things are born out of darkness or dark times, but also just like celebrating like Christmas Eve is the night before Christmas and good things. So check that episode out too. It's a good one, I think. But it was a reminder for me today as I was thinking about that. You got to be mindful about what you put into the universe, right? Wow. Talk about giving yourself a lesson. But that gives me hope that hope that things are going to be better and good things are going to come out of my current situation and struggles. But oh my heck, guys, right as I've been working on this with you, uh, my friend just texted and said that she wants to bring me lunch today. So I guess that's proof right there that Heavenly Father is aware of us and that many times He uses people in our lives to show us how much He cares and that He does love us. So maybe it was a quicker answer than I said originally. um, Feeling really blessed right now. So anyway, that was a tangent. I didn't plan on talking about any of that, but just know that I'm a human, I guess, and we're all kind of working this out together. But what I really want to talk with you guys about today is cookies. More specifically, a story that I heard a long time ago about a bag of cookies. And I'm not sure exactly where I heard this story, but it stuck with me over the years. And it goes like this. A woman was sitting on a bench next to a man that she didn't know. And I can't remember exactly where this was. I think it was the airport, or maybe it was like a park bench or something. But it was a public place, and she was eating her favorite treat, which was a bag of chocolate chip cookies. And the bag seemed to be lighter at one point than she expected, so she looked down, only to see the man next to her reach down and take a cookie out of her bag and eat it. And the woman was flabbergasted, and how dare he just reach down and eat one of her cookies? But it happened again. The man reached down and grabbed another cookie out of the bag. And now the woman was angry, but she was also shy. She didn't want to confront him right out. It was a strange man. She didn't know him, so she kind of took a passive-aggressive approach. She grabbed 2 cookies out of the bag and stuffed them into her mouth. And you can kind of imagine how the next couple of minutes played out. The woman gobbled up as many delicious chocolate chip cookies as she could so that the man would have less to grab. And the man was unperturbed. He was very calm and had a nice demeanor. He even smiled at the woman a few times, and this only made her more angry. In her mind, he was laughing at her. Well, the climax came when there was only a single cookie left. And the woman was about to grab for it, but the man smiled at her again and distracted her. So he got there first. He reached down, took the last cookie, broke it in half, and shared it with her. Then the man stood up, bowed slightly, threw the empty bag in the trash, and walked away. The woman just sat there in amazement at this man who seemed to have no boundaries or respect for other people's snacks. And finally, however, she stood up to leave. She grabbed her purse, and then when she picked it up, she heard a familiar crackling sound. And there, where she had left it, inside her purse was a nearly full bag of chocolate chip cookies. And she had eaten the man's cookies. And amazingly, he didn't seem angry at all, even though he must have wondered at her audacity, like she did, right? But he simply smiled at her and even broke the last cookie in half to share. The woman went home humbled and determined to live with more generosity of spirit in her heart. So, my friends, when you think about the 2 people in this story, who are you most like? I think we have times in our lives when we're both characters. Sometimes we're more generous and sometimes we're more angry or offended or whatever. But think about it for a minute. What would you do if a stranger suddenly started eating your favorite snack? Or what if it was something worse? What if someone stole something that was important to you? What if a different behavior by someone around you was hurtful or offended you in some way? It's worth pondering on. A while back, I did a podcast about being offended. It's episode 33, To Be or Not to Be Offended. And so check that one out too. And this podcast today, I guess, is kind of a follow-up to that one. Like I mentioned in the earlier Offend to Be Offended podcast, we have pinch points and we have tender spots that kind of set us off. But what I want to focus on today is more about that generosity of spirit. It's the holidays right now. It's December. And this is the time of year where you do see a lot more people on the street panhandling, begging for money. Although there are people who need help on the streets during all times of the year. But think about your reaction to these people for a minute. I'm not judging. I simply think this is a relevant example. And I admit that sometimes I don't want to interact with someone, a stranger that's holding up a cardboard sign. But most of the time, I think my heart goes out to them. And I don't always have means to give anything materially, but I can always give them a smile, right? So where is your heart at? I love that song by Smash Mouth, All Star. I think it's late 90s, early 2000s, not sure. You know, somebody once told me, da 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 da. You know that song. But that was like the worst singing I've ever done, I think. um, anyway, you know the song, and it has some great lyrics. Somebody once asked if I could spare some change for gas. I need to get myself away from this place. I said, yep, what a concept. I could use a little fuel myself, and we could all use a little change. So that's a really great example from a song. And here's the truth. When you're generous, you feel good. So even if you don't want to do it for other people, it makes sense just to do good things for yourself. And again, there's the obvious generosity of giving things like money or food to people who need it. But then you can have a generous heart like the man in the cookie story. If you feel slighted or offended or angry, it's easy to start blaming others. But if you can take a pause and consider where the other person might be coming from, things might go a lot easier. One of my favorite personal development books is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, which I know I've mentioned before. So if you haven't yet, read it. It's a great one. It's a life changer. But the second agreement in that book he teaches is not to take anything personally. This is so key. Other people's reactions aren't about you. Their actions are brought about by their own thoughts and beliefs. And once you understand that, there's so much freedom from anger and irritation and being offended. So give people the benefit of the doubt and be generous. You know, I find it ironic. Where I'm from in Utah, people literally go around giving each other cookies like crazy. I'm not joking. We give our neighbors cookies. We bring cookies to friends when they're sick. We bring them to church. We make cookies for bake sales. Moms have cookies ready for kids when they get home from school. We even leave cookies out for Santa, right? But if someone tries to take a cookie that we didn't offer, we get huffy. Does that make sense? I mean, there are so many cookies. So the challenge this week is to take a look at your life and see where you could maybe be a little bit more giving. And giving physical help is amazing and so needed. So if you can, be generous that way. But again, another way to go is think about where maybe you could be more giving in spirit. And this is the time of year when goodwill toward men is supposedly at its strongest. So let's put that to the test. Now, go eat a cookie and live the vibrant life. Take care, peeps.